If you want an exposure to a market or an
Everything they need in one place.
Be the world's foremost authority on
Individuals, advisors and institutions.
Hello and welcome to the Morningstar series, Ask the Expert. I'm Emma Wall and here with me today is Freddie Ewer, co-founder of Redstart. Hello Freddie.
Thank you very much for having me in.
Good to see you. So Redstart is about financial education. What are the biggest problems we're facing in financial education at the moment?
Well, at the moment we see a big challenge because you're seeing a big shift in responsibility. So you're seeing a shift in responsibility from the government and corporates onto the shoulders of individuals. And this is particularly for young people. You see this in pensions with the shift from DB to DC. You see this in healthcare. You see it in tuition fees as well. Tuition fees are something that young people are going to have to deal with at a very young age. And we feel at Redstart that if you don't have the financial education to go alongside that shift in responsibility, there's a real risk that we head towards a socio-economic crisis where people can't manage their debt, people can't manage their personal finances.
This is almost something that's been lost over the generations. You know, everybody talks about that, the good old days, but I think financial responsibility, that was something that was innate, that was perhaps taught to you at a young age in the past. Then we became a bit of a nanny state, and we've lost the ability to take control, to take responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just something that applies to children, though, is it? It's sort of nationwide, and with the pension changes, and even with rumours that the auto-enrolment is going to make sure, or going to be the sort of prelude to having a state pension removed entirely.
Sure.
Those sorts of things affect all ages, don't they?
They do, absolutely. And financial literacy, or a lack thereof, is not just a problem for young people, it's a problem across the ages. And people need to have the guidance that they need in order to make the correct decisions. So if you take away the kind of nanny state, as you put it, then you have to make sure that there's some help and some support to support that transition. Otherwise you'll find people in real trouble as they go through the stages of their personal financial journey.
I mean, one of the things that the government is doing is auto-enrolment. That's making sure that every employer does provide a pension for every employee. Other than that, what can we be doing as individuals to make sure that we're not cut short or stopped short?
Stop short of?
Financially, when we get there for the pensions, as well as auto-enrolment, what can we do as individuals?
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is planning. The key thing is to have a personal financial plan and to really think forward and to think about what you're going to be doing in the future. So to give you an example of the kind of lack of knowledge that we observe when we do our teaching, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds don't know the difference between a credit and a debit card. And they don't know that a high rate of APR on a credit card is a bad thing. They think it's a good thing. So if people don't have that basic knowledge, it becomes very difficult for them to plan their financial future. But I think it's really empowering individuals to think forward and think about, how am I going to pay back my student loan? How am I going to save up for a car? How am I going to save up for a house? So they can actually understand that process.
Should this not be the government's responsibility? I know you're a private organisation. You know, is there some argument that says actually this should be in the curriculum more than it already is?
Yeah, I think there is a strong argument there. I'm sure, as you'll already know, that financial education did enter the curriculum in September. So it now sits within citizenship and within maths. But our concern, and the concern of other organisations that we work with, is that unless these subject areas are really focused on and tested, teachers aren't incentivised to focus on them in the way that they should. And another problem that we've found is that the teachers that come along to our education days don't have a huge amount of financial knowledge themselves. So they'll say, oh, we feel like we're learning today. And if they're in a position where they don't have that knowledge, it's very difficult for them to pass that on to the young people that they're teaching.
What about parents? What can parents be doing? Because our readership generally is of an age now where they have teenage and young adult children.
Sure.
What can they be doing to help make sure that that generation is well equipped?
Yeah, I think the role that parents have is really key. And certainly prior to 2007, 2008, we saw the development of a real culture of debt-driven consumption and immediate gratification. So if I want something, I want it now, I'll put it on the credit card, I'll worry about it later. And what we really need to see is, from a very young age, young children being taught the value of savings. So if you want something, it's the old school way, if you want something, you have to save up for it. You're not just going to get it immediately. So I think if you can instill that attitude and that culture within young people at a very young age, that sets them on the right path. I think that's very important.
And what about talking about pensions? Because you've mentioned their immediate gratification and sort of short-termist attitude to money. Talking to people even under the age of 35, about the concept of something they're not going to feel the benefit of for at least another 20 years is a challenge.
Yeah, it really is a challenge, but it's a challenge that needs to be addressed because, like, we all know the value of contributing early. If you contribute to your pension early, it has time to compound up, and the contributions you make at the beginning of your savings path are very, very important. And kind of to address your point, the key challenge there is to try and make this stuff interesting. Like finance, personal finance, pensions can be really dry, and if you deliver it in a dry, boring way, then young people just won't pick it up. So what we try and do is design a syllabus that's really student-led, really interactive, to make sure that it's enjoyable for the young people and they leave having enjoyed discussing it and learning about it. Because if you fail to do that, then you fail to teach anything, and the long-term impact is minimal, if at all.
And the long-term impact, if you do get it right, of course, is exponential.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really critical, not only at an individual level, but for the economy as a whole, that we have a shift away from this debt-driven consumption to prudent saving. It needs to happen. We can see what happens if debt mounts and becomes insurmountable. You can see that at a national level, you can see it at a personal level, so I think it's really important.
Freddie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is Emma Wall from Morningstar. Thank you for watching.